There are a lot of freaking Bennets. We've got Jane the pretty one, Lizzie the smart one, Mary the goth kid, and Kitty and Lydia, who are pretty much the same person except Lydia gets more action. Then we've got Mr. Bennet, who only likes Lizzie, and Mrs. Bennet, who only likes marriage.
They all meet their new neighbor, Mr. Bingley, at a ball. Mr. Bingley is a classy ginger gentleman. His BFF, Mr. Darcy, is not as classy, but has more money. Bingley's sisters are grumpy bitches. Luckily for Bingley, Jane has a thing for gingers with cash, but Mr. Darcy doesn't dance with nerdy chicks, so Lizzie is left out in the cold.
Speaking of colds, Jane gets one while visiting her ginger. Lizzie walks over to nurse her. Mr. Darcy realizes he does like nerdy chicks, especially when they have such fine eyes. Lizzie still hates him.
One day, the Bennet girls meet the dashingly debonair Mr. Wickham. He's in the army, and these girls just love a man in uniform. Lizzie wants a piece of that, especially when she finds out he hates Darcy more than she does.
Meanwhile, the man who will inherit the Bennet estate when Daddy Bennet dies decides to pay a visit. His name is Mr. Collins, and he is single and ready to mingle.
When he finds out Jane is taken, he turns his awkward advances on Lizzie. She is forced to dance with him at the next ball. She also dances with Darcy.
The sexual tension is thicker than Burt Reynolds' mustache, but so is Lizzie's skull. Then Mr. Collins proposes to Lizzie. She tells him to GTFO. He marries her best friend instead. Awkwardness ensues.
Bingley pulls a Willoughby, which is totes OOC. Jane is sad and doesn't play the piano.
Lizzie goes to visit the creepy newlyweds. There she meets the very rich, very crotchety Lady de Bourgh and her nephew, Mr. Darcy. Awkwardness ensues.
Mr. Darcy is like, I hate your family, will you marry me? Lizzie's like, no. So he writes her a letter explaining how he's super awesome and how Mr. Wickham is secretly a D-bag. Lizzie is like, OMG, but keeps it a secret.
She goes home, Lydia goes to Brighton to stalk the officers, and then Lizzie leaves again to travel the countryside with her aunt and uncle. They go visit Pemberley, Mr. Darcy's huge estate. Mr. Darcy is there. Awkwardness and flirting ensue.
Then they find out that Lydia has run off with Mr. Wickham. Everyone is in a tizzy, and Lizzie returns home. Mr. Darcy makes Wickham marry Lydia. Bingley returns and proposes to Jane, who accepts. Lady de Bourgh calls Lizzie a hoe, but Darcy marries her anyway. And they all live happily ever after.